On behalf of AmWestEntertainment.com and AmWager.com, I'm Joe Christofek, and look, it's the incomparable globe-trotting Pat Cummings, and Pat obviously survived his trip to Dubai. His human shell is back here in the United States, but a piece of his heart remains at Meydan. Pat, a lot of people, including myself, have a trip to Dubai on the very top of their bucket list. How would you describe your overall experience there? But before you do, Pat, please keep in mind that this video has been approved for all audiences.
Yes, of course, Joe. Fair enough. Look, I've been going now to Dubai for 8 years. It's a lovely time every time. And the thing is, you go with a purpose. If you're going there for a racing event, I mean, you can very easily surround yourself with those who are in the sport. Everyone's very approachable. It is a great time. I highly recommend it. You see lots of people that are in Dubai on holiday, especially from Europe, and like their racing. And I got the chance to catch up with a few of them here and there throughout the week. Look, it was a great time, always is. Great to be back, but excited to get on with the fourth night of the Carnival.
Of course, just the taste of Meydan in Dubai for Pat, who will be returning later on in the meet as World Cup approaches. Pat, AmWestEntertainment.com, great place for Dubai information. The comprehensive is still there and still very relevant. Free pass performances, track and statistics, your analysis and selections, live video on race day as well, and this coming Thursday, January 30th, is week 4 of the Dubai Racing Carnival. Post time is 9:40 a.m. American Eastern Time. 6 thoroughbred races on the agenda, including a pair of co-features. Race number 3, the $200,000 Cape Verde, Group 2 over 1,600 meters on grass. Race 5, also on the turf, the $200,000 Rashidiya. This one, as I mentioned, Group 2 a little bit further at 1,800 meters. Now, Pat, in addition, obviously, we're promoting Timeform US because they're giving away free pass performances every week for the Dubai Racing Carnival up and through Super Saturday. Meydan PPs, Timeform US, they contain expanded data for foreign runners and speed figures that are all on the same scale. They're perfect for meets that attract shippers from around the world. Timeform US pass performances are built for the modern horse player. They make playing the races faster, easier, and more fun. And they even look great on your iPad or other tablet. Now, Pat, as you probably have noticed, because you are a very observant individual, I'm wearing my Derby Wars shirt this week. And why? Well, because they're a sponsor of this video, and obviously they have a lot of great things going on at Horse Racing Nation and Derby Wars, including that free $150 Dubai contest. I must say it fills up very quickly, so make sure when they put that game up, if you're interested, join in on that game as soon as possible. If you don't make that game, there are other options for Dubai racing on a weekly basis as well, and it's great camaraderie talking about the Dubai races with others who are interested in it. HorseRacingNation.com, follow on Facebook, follow on Twitter. Join the webpage, join the Horse Racing Nation, get great information on the Carnival, and interact with racing fans from across the world through Horse Racing Nation's website, and as I mentioned, Facebook and Twitter as well. Pat, before we jump into Thursday's action, give us your impressions of Week 3. Personally, following his disadvantaged run in the Al Fayed, I'm looking forward to potentially making an investment on Mashawish next time out. I really thought the horse ran a nice race and shuffled back at the start, closed well. What were your impressions of that horse and that race overall?
Well, look, Robio has clearly come into himself. He's now a two-time winner at the Carnival this year and 3 consecutive dating back to last year's Carnival. Mashawish would have relished the fact that this race was 1,600 meters every other year prior to this one, because he was going to win if it was 1,600 meters, but it was only 1,400. Robio is really a specialist over that trip. I frankly discounted him probably a little too much off of that local win, thinking he was stepping up into tougher company, but I think the 1,400 meters was probably the equalizer. Look, the first 3 finishers who go 1, 2, 3 were sitting 1, 2, 3 on the rail most of this trip. There was just a little angling out towards the end, but I think it was a very clean race for them. Mashawish will come on for this. I thought they might back him up very quickly in the Al Rashidiya. They don't. Instead, they'll probably look down the line, maybe the Zabiel Mile or something similar. But look, very good. Frankie Dettori got a nice second-place finish in his return to Dubai. He hasn't had a win there since March 31st. And look, overall, for the week as it was, take Anaerobio's win out of it, you had 5 different races, 2 horses trained by Irishmen, One trained in England, one trained in South Africa, and one trained locally for Godolphin connections when Windhoek won the fourth race. It was a very diverse night at the Carnival. It's what we've come to expect. The Europeans are rounding into form. They have certainly come around after a bit of a slow start, but again, we've seen that in the past. It was another good week. Mike DeCock, Saeed bin Saror, correct, Mike DeCock and Charlie Appleby tied at the top with 4 wins. Saeed bin Saror has 3. The jockey colony, Sylvester de Souza, Mikel Barzalona, Christophe Soumillon, they continue to fly. No surprises there. And the fourth night looms on Thursday.
Well, let's begin our detailed analysis of Carnival Week 4, Pat. With the evening's second race, it's the Belay Trophy over 1,900 meters of Tapeta. You've pegged the speedy String Theory as the 5-2 morning line favorite here, in part because of his 3-for-3 record on all-weather surfaces, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and you don't have to go back too far to find them. I tend to find that when those things kind of stick out very close to the top, including the 2 back-to-back wins that he's had on the all-weather, I do believe it was in lesser company, though. That, I think, is a bit of a problem for him. Frankie Dettori gets them out. And, you know, Joe, when I was looking through this race, I counted probably 6 horses who want to have a piece of the early lead. That these are horses that want to race forward. There's only 11 in the field. So to me, that might be a bit of an undoing for String Theory, who's had some fairly easy leads against what I would generally call some softer company. So while on paper he certainly, I think, looks the favorite and would be treated as such, I'm willing to really take a shot against him. And, you know, this is a race where we have some horses who have raced already at the Carnival and I think have produced some interesting results. Let's go back to the race on opening night. This is the third race. It was very slow, very slow pace that Busker ends up winning. We'll highlight 2 horses. Number 7, Clon Brûlé. He's on the far outside in blue. He won't wear their blue this week. Don't worry about that, though. And number 5, Ottoman Empire, is drawn on the inside here with Richard Mullen aboard, and he has the orange star on the white cap. And as this race runs out, you'll notice Clon Brûlé covers a lot of extra ground, really significant extra ground. Busker saved a lot of ground in this spot. Clon Brûlé covers 20 meters more. He was no less than 3 to 4 wide the entire trip. What's notable is that the second-place finisher from this race, Leale Alandalus, was one of your spot plays last week, Joe, helped your bankroll. We'll talk more about that later. He ends up running a very good second last week to Windhoek, almost won. And then El Estrendoso, who ran 5th, he has come back to run a very good second. He ran second behind Gabriel last week. So all things considering, even though they weren't producing winners, I think that race has proven that you could kind of draw a line through the very slow pace and take some value out of the data here. I think this race proved that Clon Brûlé can get over the surface, and it actually leads us into the track stat of the day. This race that we're talking about, it was the third race on January 9th. Clon Brûlé covered 20 meters more than the winner, 8 meters more than the second, and 16 meters more than the third-place finisher, Ottoman Empire. He traveled 12 meters more than 8 meters more than El Estrendoso, who was 5th. So you had some horses come back and do okay here. He is traveling probably a little off the rail here. He's drawn in gate 9. But I think he is a very unique play here. I don't think he's going to get a ton of attention off that 6th placing. I've made him the value play of the day. Maybe we'll get 6 to 1, maybe we won't. But I think it's well worth it in a race that is, frankly, very interesting and should be very telling for the rest of the night.
Well, Pat, you mentioned Ottoman Empire closed very well into that slow pace. It's turning out to be a key race. The other horse I took a look at in there was Abdel, who finished a deceivingly good 4th behind the Beastly Cattle Mountain here a couple weeks back. So another player potentially in the gimmick.
Yeah, I agree. And how Abdel runs in this race, players should take note. It will certainly impact how the 6th race goes, as the horses that ran, some of them ran ahead of him, some of them ran behind him in that race from 2 weeks ago, how they fare. Abdel could be a barometer for that. I agree, and I've used him third, Abdel.
Okay, Pat, on to race number 3, the co-featured Cape Verity, to be run over 1,600 meters on grass. Only 6 horses entered here, but it's a fascinating race. It features the undefeated Group 1 winner, Certify, your 2-1 morning line favorite. The 2012 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly champion, Flotilla, who was visually impressive that day. Limited starts last year, though. And Godolphin Sharuk, who beat the boys here on opening night of the Carnival. Short field. I've only mentioned 3 of them, and a couple of others have a chance as well.
Yeah, Pearl of Africa is well regarded by trainer Eddie Lynham. And number 1, Mensura, I think she's probably the pace in the race. And she also is a Southern Hemisphere 3-year-old, so she gets in here at 55 kilos. She's getting 5 kilograms from Sharuk, getting 3.5 from Flotilla, Certified, Pearl of Africa, L'Amour de ma Vie. Look, it's a fascinating renewal. You're absolutely right. It looks like a very tactical race. I think Mensura goes to the front. How long she lasts is a big question mark. Certify is coming off the long layoff. This was one of the horses that was essentially impounded after the steroid issue from last year. She didn't run, has been off since October 2012, her first start against older horses. We've seen a couple of these horses come back. None of them have won yet, although several have run okay. Steeler being one of them. We'll see him in the Al Rashidiya. I think Sharuk, this is maybe throwing her to the wolves a little bit here. She wins on Tapeta, but frankly, Godolphin have too many horses. They're probably aiming for the second round of the Maktoum Challenge. This is the spot they chose after they said they were going to go there. Look, I could really see probably 5 of them winning. I don't think L'Amour de ma Vie can win. So that being the case, I've actually sided with number 4, Flotilla. I think she's going to sit a decent trip from Christophe Lemaire. She's going to try and sit right off the pace and pounce going into the lane. She won first up last year in one of only her 3 starts. So to me, at least, it shows that there is that ability to run well off the break for trainer Mikel Delzangla. Flotilla, for me, in a tactical renewal of the Cape Verde.
Yeah, they were talking about running Flotilla in the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile. That didn't materialize. This appears to be a good spot for her to kind of regain some of her stature on a global scale. Pat, race number 4 is the Cathouse Trophy featuring all-weather sprinters. A 2-1 morning line favorite amongst a field of 11 is Tamarcuz, the 4-year-old son of Speightstown, who is perfect from 3 starts on all-weather. Now, Pat, I kind of like number 10 Eastern Rules at 6-1 on your morning line. He's a lightly raced 6-year-old who enjoyed a fine 2013 campaign, and this appears to be his best distance.
And the other thing about him, Joe, is he is one who doesn't often end up far from the finish, no matter where he runs or how he finishes. Very
Big
rarely is
fields
put in.
too, yeah.
They have been, and very rarely a bad effort. So I think he's going to be in the mix. My only problem is, I think this is maybe a tougher lot than he has faced in Ireland. And so, look, the jockey got his first win in 50-plus mounts last week with Sir Terek. And Mick Halford got his second training win in Dubai, so they certainly have to be feeling good. I give Eastern Rules a chance. Tamarcuz, though, is, I think, a very deserving favorite, 2-1, might be the shortest price of the day. He has exploded in his runs on all-weather races. I watched all the videos, and he really just, he was going from the back of the pack to the front of the pack with absolutely no problem. Again, there is potentially a problem, and there doesn't seem to be a whole load of early zip. That could potentially hurt him a little bit, but I think he can be tactically ridden a little more forward. He does have a nice draw in gate 3. And this is a former Godolphin runner, Joe. And he was just running in the Godolphin blue colors in October, and now he's over to Sheikh Mohammed's brother, Sheikh Hamdan, who races in North America under the Shadwell farm name. I cannot remember the last time I've seen that sort of ownership change. We see plenty of them among Sheikh Mohammed's direct family, some of his friends and cousins, but not his brother. They tend to have totally separate operations, and so it has thrown me for a bit of a loop. But this week, the first jockey for Sheikh Hamdan, Dane O'Neill, takes the call here. It is worth noting, Paul Hannigan on suspension this week, so he's not riding. Dane O'Neill, the number 1 rider for Sheikh Hamdan, he gets them out on Tamarcuz, and I have made him the best bet of the day. Just too good on the all-weather for my ignorance. Otherwise, I have to back him Tamarku's on top in the fourth.
Yeah, certainly an intriguing runner, and as you mentioned, could blow this field away. Most likely a short price. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Race 5, Pat, is the co-featured Al Rashidiya for Turf Routers. Solid field of 12, led by your 7-2 lukewarm morning line favorite, Musharek, who won impressively here on opening night of the Carnival, defeating Gabriel, who returned to post a victory of his own last week. How do you rate Musharek in this spot, coming off of that impressive win?
Yeah, we have to go back and take a look at this, Joe. Mushrek is in the middle of the field in the Singspiel Stakes. What's worth noting, as you mentioned, Gabriel comes on from the back of the pack and he runs second. And the fifth place finisher in the Singspiel, that's Tarbawi. He's in the green silks with the red cap. He actually comes on and runs third last week behind Gabriel. So it wasn't just one horse showing that that was a legitimate effort. Tarbawi, who had previously been a maiden and was fifth in the Singspiel, he comes on and runs a good third last week behind Gabriel. I think it's going to be tough to ignore Mushrek. I was back and forth on this race for a long time. Mike DeCock, second up improvement that we would expect to see from him. He's a winner over the distance. Mushrek, to me, he just won in a very impressive fashion, and the horse he beat comes back to win a decent race. I cannot ignore him here. Steeler, maybe. Tazaday, the filly going up against the boys. I think she's in here because it's a longer race in the Cape Verde. Tradestorm, you presume, will need this race. Tales of Grimm ran well from off the pace last time. Brendan Bracken had a good run on the rail in the Mocktoon Challenge. We'll talk about them in a second. But at the end of the day, I think Mushrek is the horse here.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And like you said, you beat a nice horse, you come back, you fit well in the spot, appears to be razor sharp. But you mentioned there are a couple of other horses exiting what you feel may be a key race going into this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this video and why you chose it?
Yeah, no one has come out of the Mocktoon Challenge to win, but a couple have run decent. This was Steeler's first run in a long time. He's in the all blue on the far outside, covers a wide trip here. He's again in a similar position to Certify, who comes back in the Cape Verde, except Steeler has had this run, and then Brendan Bracken in the red sleeves and the yellow cap on the rail. He sucks up and runs a very good third, but he's now drawn in gate 12. He's going to get a much wider trip. I don't know if everything's going to work out for Brendan Bracken as well as it did last time, although he makes sense back on the grass, despite that being a good effort on the all-weather. Steeler, look, this was a good run. He needed the run. Is he going to kind of put it together? He was the first horse off the bridle in this race, Joe, and I thought he looked as though he looked like a horse who said, okay, I remembered how to do this. I'm getting a little tired. Okay, I should keep going. I'll keep going, and he did that. I just don't know if it's enough to get him on top of a very clearly informed Mushrek, and so I've sided with the favorite here in the Al Rashidiya Mushrek.
Well, don't forget you can get Pat's selections and more detailed analysis at amwestentertainment.com. Also, of course, Pat's website, DubaiRaceNight.com. Pat, why don't you give us an overview of your 6 selections for the races on Thursday?
Yeah, so we start off at the top in a really wide-open 1,000-meter turf sprint, as they typically all are. I went with number 5, Murr. He almost made all going 1,200 last week. He's now going to drop back to 1,000. The question a lot of people are going to have is, what do you see from Ah Tug, who was a winner on opening night, and Roy Cadd, who came back a winner out of that race? Look, the chances of these horses repeating in these 1,000-meter turf sprints, they're very... It's tough to back a horse. And look, Atug only won by a half length. It's not as if he just demolished his competition. These are very even races. You have to treat them as such. So I went against Atug, sided with Murhi, who's going back on the grass. When a Mike DeCock runner from South Africa through the quarantine runs that well first up, I'm willing to take them on the quick turnaround. And then we talked about a lot of the others. In the 6th race, Hoffa Guinea, who I know you had fancied quite a bit when he ran on debut here, Joe. Hoffa Guinea is back. He ran very well, and you know what? He's very well handicapped in this race. Only 54.5 kilograms, as you have Master Plan and Daddy Longlegs and Energia Arrows taking some of the top weight. Hoffa Guinea, to me, is a strong play in the 6th race.
Well, last week I had 2 spot plays, Pat. Diesel Leader, who mirrored your selection, ran a decent 4th at odds of 10-1, just missed the money, and then Ali Al Andalus ran a good 2nd. So the bankroll took a little bit of a positive move with that selection and that wager. Spot plays this week: Ottoman Empire at 8-1, closed well into a slow pace last out in what may have been a key race. The ever consistent Eastern Rules at 6-1 in race number 4, and then Mushrak, who I think is the horse to beat squarely in race number 5. Pat, what about the Amwager Bankroll Challenge update? Pat, you're Mr. Dubai, but right now, I've got a bankroll lead on you, buddy.
You do, and you deserve it for sticking with the track stat of the day from last week. I know I didn't, but that's to my fault. Look, I'm really excited about the second race this week. To me, it's one of those races where you can really make money. Horses that have run at the Carnival, you have a trip on them, you have a reason to back them. So I'm going a little exotic here. Going to play a trifecta using Ottoman Empire and Clon Brulee on top with 5 horses in the middle, hoping Abdel runs a big race at a nice price. And then I'll use all in the third spot. It's a 50-cent play in the North American market. Totals $36. And then we'll play exactas as well. 6 with the 1-3-4, back it up 1-3-4 with 6 in that second race. And then I take my remaining $40 and play half a guinea in the 6th race, 40 to win on half a guinea in the last, and hopefully can make up some ground on you, Joe. What do you have?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit more conservative than you, Pat, just like I am in real life against you. So we're going to go win, place, and win and place wagers, no show. Win and place wagers in races 2 and 4 with Ottoman Empire and Eastern Rules. Both horses should offer a square price. Then I really think Mushrak is the horse to beat in the 5th, so I'm going to throw my remaining $40 on that horse's nose in that event. Pat, last Thursday it was on a plane to Vegas to cover the National Handicapping Championship. Congratulations to Jose Arias going basically wire to wire in that. There was a lot of excitement. But being on a plane on Thursday morning, I was unable to tweet during the Carnival, but I will be back at it this week and reading a lot of your tweets as well.
I'm looking forward to being back a little more connected this week. It's a little tough to do it on the ground and on the broadcast as I was last week, so good to be back and follow me along and follow along with me. Should be great.
9:40 a.m. Eastern Time in the United States will be first post for Thursday's Week 4 of the Dubai Racing Carnival. Pat, before we sign off, any final thoughts on Dubai Racing, Carnival Week 4, or life in general, buddy?
Life in general is phenomenal when you're playing Dubai Racing. Let me tell you that. This is so exciting. There's 10 days a year. I get really hepped up for this. This is a really good card, and again, I'm really excited. A lot of good opportunities out there. The pools might not always be the biggest, so you have to take advantage of those spots when you get them. Play it deep and enjoy. Good luck.
And it's Week 4, and we're seeing a lot of these horses starting to race back and comparisons of fields, which I think makes the handicapping challenge, if you're paying attention, even a little bit easier because you have points of comparison and so on and so forth. So we'll see how that translates in Pat and I's selections and bankroll this week. 9:40 first post on Thursday. You can watch a live video at amwestentertainment.com. For the incomparable Pat Cummings, I'm Joe Christopher. Enjoy the racing.